Have you ever found yourself in a conversation that feels less like a dialogue and more like speaking to a wall? A wall that, despite your most logical arguments and heartfelt appeals, remains utterly impenetrable. You present facts, you share experiences, you offer different perspectives, yet the person opposite you seems not only to disagree, but to be fundamentally incapable of even entertaining a thought that did not originate from within their own mind. It is a profoundly frustrating and draining experience, one that can leave you questioning not only their judgment, but your own sanity. You walk away from such an encounter with a sense of depletion, as if your energy has been siphoned off by an invisible force of sheer unyielding resistance. What if these frustrating, baffling, and utterly exhausting encounters are not random occurrences of social friction, but instead offer a clear roadmap to understanding a particular pattern of human behavior? What if the traits exhibited in these moments, the stubbornness, the blame, shifting, the self-aggrandizement, are not isolated quirks, but are in fact well-defined signposts, indicating a profound lack of wisdom? The ancient philosophers, particularly the Stoics, spent their lives observing human nature, and they concluded that true foolishness is not merely an absence of knowledge, but an active and often aggressive resistance to acquiring it. They saw that certain behaviors consistently lead to error, misery, and alienation, not just for the individual, but for everyone in their orbit. This journey we are about to embark on, exploring 6 of these unmistakable signs, is therefore not an exercise in criticism or an opportunity to feel superior. On the contrary, it is a profound act of self-awareness and fortification. Recognizing these traits is not about labeling others to dismiss them, but about understanding the mechanics of ignorance so that we may first identify and avoid these destructive patterns in our own lives. It is about holding up a mirror, not a magnifying glass. Furthermore, by understanding these signs, we learn how to protect our own peace and navigate the world with greater clarity and resilience, disengaging from conflicts that cannot be won and preserving our energy for growth and constructive action. In the spirit of modern Stoicism, we will explore these clear signs of a foolish person, not to condemn, but to learn, and in doing so to uncover powerful lessons that can elevate and transform our own lives. The first and most foundational sign is the presence of a closed mind. A closed mind acts as a self-constructed fortress against the perceived threat of new information. It is built brick by painstaking brick over time, with each layer formed from the mortar of fear, pride, and an unyielding unwillingness to embrace change. This mental barrier does more than simply keep progress at bay, it actively repels it. Those who possess a closed mind are often trapped in the narrow, dimly lit corridors of their existing knowledge and experience, rendering them functionally blind to the vast sunlit landscapes of growth and self-improvement that lie just beyond their self-imposed walls. Their worldview is not merely limited, it is aggressively policed. They reject new ideas, dismiss alternative viewpoints, and recoil from different ways of thinking, not because they have carefully considered and refuted them, but because the very novelty of these ideas feels like a personal attack on the stability of their world. This resistance to change, while it may masquerade as the confidence of conviction, often stems from a deep-seated and paralyzing fear of being proven wrong. To be wrong in their internal calculus is to be inadequate, to be flawed, to be weak. Their entire sense of self may be precariously balanced on the notion that they are correct, that their understanding of the world is the definitive one. To protect this fragile ego, they must control their environment, ensuring that no dissonant information can penetrate their defenses. In reality, however, it is this very fear, this desperate need for control, that keeps them utterly stagnant. They build a formidable wall around themselves, creating a false and fragile sense of security, while simultaneously denying themselves the one thing that could truly strengthen them, the chance to evolve, to adapt, and to expand their understanding of the world and their place within it. On the surface, a person with a closed mind may project an aura of unshakable confidence, but this is a brittle facade. At its core, this mindset is fragile, existing only to shield them from the profound discomfort of uncertainty and the terror of the unknown. This inability to accept the simple truth that they do not and cannot know everything becomes their greatest and most insurmountable barrier to growth. When an individual refuses to acknowledge the inherent limitations of their own knowledge, they cease to learn. They stop adapting. Their personal development grinds to a halt. This attitude not only stunts their own potential, but also severely hinders their ability to form deep and meaningful connections with others. After all, how can one truly engage in a partnership, a friendship, or a collaboration if their mind is hermetically sealed to perspectives, experiences, and feelings that differ from their own? This unwillingness to embrace change is not just a personal failing. It is a detriment to any community they are a part of, as it stifles progress, poisons dialogue, and chokes understanding. True wisdom, in stark contrast, blossoms from the fertile soil of an open mind. It is born from the ability to step outside the comfortable but confining zone of established beliefs, to welcome new insights with curiosity rather than suspicion, and to understand that being challenged is an opportunity, not a threat. Stoicism, with its profound emphasis on adaptability and resilience, teaches us that real wisdom lies not in the vanity of always being right, but in the humility of being willing to learn from our mistakes, adapt to life's myriad challenges, and grow continuously. The great Stoic philosopher Epictetus captured this idea with perfect simplicity when he said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This is not just a clever aphorism. It is a deep philosophical reminder that wisdom is not about clinging to and defending our own ideas, but about actively and humbly listening to and understanding the world around us. In the fast-paced, ever-changing world we inhabit, the capacity for open-mindedness is not a luxury. It is a critical survival tool. It allows us to navigate the complexities of modern life with flexibility, to thrive in the face of constant change, and to learn from a vast and diverse array of experiences and perspectives. If you recognize the nascent signs of a closed mind within yourself, a flash of anger when challenged, a quick dismissal of a new idea, a reflexive need to be right, it is a crucial signal that it is time to reassess your approach. Let go of the ego's need to be perpetually correct, and instead cultivate a sense of intellectual humility and boundless curiosity. By embracing the unknown and approaching life with an open heart and mind, you will not only enhance your own understanding, but also foster an environment of growth and progress in those around you. Remember the words of another Stoic sage, Seneca, who wisely stated, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." In the context of a closed mind, this serves as a poignant reminder of the precious time we waste holding on to outdated ideas and refusing to evolve. True growth comes not from clinging to the familiar, but from daring to embrace the unfamiliar. In doing so, you unlock endless possibilities for personal and intellectual development. This fortress of ignorance naturally leads to the second sign, the habit of constant blaming. This is one of the greatest and most stubborn obstacles to personal growth. It is the reflexive tendency to deflect responsibility for the challenges and failures we face in life. We have all encountered individuals who, when confronted with a mistake or a poor outcome, immediately and almost unconsciously shift the blame onto external factors, other people, or sheer bad luck. Anything and everything becomes the cause of their misfortune except for their own actions or decisions. This is a powerful and seductive defense mechanism, one that many people rely on to avoid the uncomfortable but absolutely necessary process of self-reflection and personal growth. It is in the short term much easier to point a finger at someone else than it is to turn that finger back toward ourselves and admit that we might have contributed to the problem. But while blaming others might offer a fleeting temporary escape from the sting of accountability, it solves absolutely nothing. In fact, it is profoundly destructive. It prevents us from addressing the root cause of the problem, thereby keeping us trapped in a miserable and repeating cycle of denial, frustration, and stagnation. You have likely witnessed firsthand how this constant blaming can corrode and ultimately destroy relationships. It erects walls of distrust and resentment. When people around you see that you consistently blame others for your own shortcomings, they begin to question your reliability, your maturity, and your very character. Who can truly depend on or respect someone who refuses to take accountability for their own actions? Trust, the bedrock of all healthy relationships, cannot survive in an environment polluted by constant blame shifting. It creates a toxic dynamic where others feel they are perpetually walking on eggshells, wary that they might become the next scapegoat for an unrelated failure. Now let's contrast this self-defeating behavior with the approach of wise and mature individuals. Those who navigate life with a sense of responsibility and accountability understand a fundamental truth: admitting mistakes is not about enjoying criticism or wallowing in self-pity. It is about recognizing that taking ownership is the non-negotiable first step toward any form of genuine growth. It is the cornerstone of emotional maturity and personal development. When you take responsibility for your actions, you grant yourself the space and the permission to reflect on what went wrong, to analyze the sequence of events without bias, and to learn from the experience. This is what allows you to improve, to become stronger, and to grow wiser. It is not always easy to face our own flaws, but when we choose to own them, we are not just acknowledging our mistakes, we are actively seeking a path to improvement. Consider the story of a manager named Mark working at a tech startup. One day, a major project he had been leading failed spectacularly. The team was frustrated, morale was low, and the pressure from superiors was mounting. Mark could have easily blamed the marketing team for poor execution, the clients for having unrealistic expectations, or the engineering department for a critical bug. The options for deflection were plentiful, but instead he paused. He took a step back from the emotional turmoil and asked himself a single powerful question: what could I have done differently? He took full and public responsibility for his part in the failure, admitting that a key decision he made had set the project on the wrong course. It was not easy to admit this in front of his team and his bosses. Yet in that moment of vulnerability, something remarkable happened. His team's respect for him grew immensely. His honesty and willingness to be accountable set a new tone for the entire company culture. By refusing to blame anyone else, Mark built trust and credibility. His team began to follow his example, creating an environment where people felt safe to take ownership of their own mistakes, knowing that the goal was collective growth, not individual blame. So now I challenge you to reflect on your own patterns. How often do you find yourself looking to external factors when things go wrong? Are you quick to blame your circumstances, other people, or things entirely outside of your control? Have you ever paused in the heat of failure to consider how your own actions, inactions, or decisions might have played a role in the outcome? These are difficult questions, but they are essential for personal growth. They are part of the Stoic secret to a wise and self-examined life. In Stoic philosophy, the emphasis is not on avoiding blame or casting it upon others, but on taking full ownership of our actions and our interpretations, whether good or bad, and using every experience as a stepping stone to evolve. The Stoics understood that wisdom begins with accepting responsibility for our sphere of control. This requires immense humility and courage, but it is also the starting point of true transformation. When you stop blaming others, you free yourself from the heavy chains of defensiveness and bitterness and begin the journey of real personal growth. Taking responsibility is not only the key to becoming a better, more effective person, but it is also what makes you more reliable, respected, and trusted by others. Is there an area in your life where you are still shifting blame? Challenge yourself to embrace the Stoic principle of responsibility. Act with integrity. Own your role and move forward with the confidence that comes from knowing you are in control of your own growth. The third sign is arrogance, one of the most harmful and self-isolating traits a person can possess. It may at first glance be mistaken for confidence, but it is a poor imitation. Beneath its polished and often loud surface, arrogance is almost always rooted in deep insecurity and a desperately inflated sense of self-importance. Arrogant individuals feel a constant gnawing need to prove that they are superior. This often manifests in belittling or dismissing the ideas, achievements, and contributions of others. This is not the quiet self-assurance that comes from genuine competence and self-respect. It is a noisy and brittle defense mechanism designed to protect a fragile ego from the perceived threats of vulnerability, criticism, or being exposed as wrong. While they might appear outwardly confident, their arrogance is simply a shield that blocks any and all opportunities for real learning and growth. It creates a false and dangerous sense of certainty, making them believe they already have all the answers. As a result, they close themselves off from alternative viewpoints, becoming deeply entrenched in their own limited and often biased perspectives. The fundamental problem with arrogance is that it is the sworn enemy of progress. If you believe you already know everything, you stop listening. If you stop listening, you stop learning. If you stop learning, you stop growing. Instead of developing and improving, these individuals stagnate within their narrow worldview, becoming relics of their own past knowledge. This overconfidence can lead to disastrously poor decisions, as it blinds them to other possibilities and causes them to ignore sound advice or critical feedback from those who may know better. How often have you encountered someone so utterly convinced of their own perspective that they refuse to even consider another point of view? It is a trap that is all too easy to fall into, especially when we are afraid of being wrong or appearing weak in front of our peers. We may not want to admit that we do not have all the answers, or that someone else's idea might be better than our own. In the fast-paced and ever-changing world we live in, however, this kind of intellectual rigidity is a recipe for failure. Open-mindedness and humility are what allow us to navigate the complexities of life with flexibility, to thrive in the face of change, and to learn from a vast array of experiences and people. Arrogance, on the other hand, isolates us. It builds impenetrable walls that prevent us from connecting with others, from learning from them, and from evolving alongside them. When we consciously choose to embrace humility, we open ourselves up to a world of new ideas, to exponential growth, and to richer, more authentic relationships. By humbly recognizing that every single person we meet has something valuable to teach us, we not only improve ourselves, but we also enrich our understanding of the world. Think about it for a moment. When was the last time you truly listened to someone, a colleague, a friend, a family member, without judgment, without formulating your rebuttal while they were still speaking, and without the burning desire to prove your own point? What did you learn from that moment of genuine openness? It is in these moments of authentic connection and intellectual humility that true personal growth happens. Modern Stoicism teaches us that real strength is not found in dominating others with our opinions or our perceived knowledge. It is found in embracing the collective wisdom of those around us. It is about recognizing that we are all part of a greater whole, and that the diverse ideas and experiences of others can help us become better, more well-rounded, and more effective individuals. Are you ready to challenge your own arrogance, to put aside the ego's fear of being wrong, and open yourself to the lessons that others can offer? When we confront our own arrogance, we take the first and most crucial step toward becoming wiser, humbler individuals, people who value personal growth, continuous learning, and meaningful connections over the shallow and fleeting need to always be right. One of the most significant and telling signs of ignorance is a profound lack of empathy. This trait signifies more than just a social awkwardness. It represents a fundamental inability to truly understand or relate to the emotional experiences of other human beings. It creates an invisible wall that prevents any form of meaningful connection. In modern life, where our success and happiness are so deeply intertwined with our relationships, be they personal, professional, or social, this inability to empathize can have devastating consequences. Relationships are built on the bedrock of emotional intelligence and mutual understanding, and without empathy, that bedrock crumbles. People who lack empathy often fail to perceive the world from any perspective other than their own. This results in shallow, disconnected, and transactional interactions that are devoid of the depth and authenticity that make human connections so vital. In any relationship, whether with family, friends, or colleagues, empathy is the bridge that links our separate islands of consciousness. It is what allows us to feel with one another. Without it, we struggle to communicate effectively, we fail to offer genuine support in times of need, and we are unable to respond appropriately to the subtle and overt emotional cues that others provide. Empathy is not the same as sympathy or pity, which often involve looking down from a position of distance. Empathy is the courageous act of attempting to understand the pain, joy, and struggles of others from their viewpoint of imagining what it is like to walk in their shoes. A person who lacks this ability may unintentionally or sometimes intentionally hurt others because they are simply incapable of grasping the emotional weight of their actions or words. For example, a comment that might seem harmless or purely logical to someone lacking empathy can feel deeply hurtful or even destructive to someone else. In such cases, there is an inevitable breakdown in communication, leading to misunderstandings, resentment, and emotional distance. As the Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius once wrote in his private meditations, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This highlights the critical importance of emotional understanding and perspective-taking in shaping the quality of our relationships and our overall well-being. Empathy is absolutely essential for building strong, healthy, and resilient connections. It allows us to recognize the needs of others, to acknowledge their feelings as valid even if we don't share them, and to act with kindness and consideration. In the workplace, empathy leads to better collaboration, smoother interactions, and a more positive and productive environment. In our personal relationships, it is the very currency of love, trust, and mutual respect. The absence of empathy, on the other hand, almost invariably leads to isolation. A person who does not engage with others on an emotional level tends to become disconnected, which can result in profound loneliness and alienation over time. In a world that is increasingly driven by digital interactions, where face-to-face conversations that allow for the transmission of emotional data are becoming rarer, the Stoic secrets of emotional control and empathy are more crucial than ever. They help restore balance. In Stoic philosophy, true wisdom is not just about knowing what is right or wrong in an abstract logical sense. It is about the capacity to relate to other human beings in a meaningful and compassionate way. By consciously practicing empathy, we begin to understand people's emotions and experiences more deeply, which in turn enriches our own lives immeasurably. This enhances not only our personal growth, but also our interactions with the entire world around us. Through empathy, we cultivate compassion and foster a greater sense of our shared humanity, making the world a more supportive and understanding place, one interaction at a time. If you recognize a lack of empathy in yourself or a tendency to prioritize logic over feeling to the detriment of your relationships, you can take a step toward change. Start by actively listening to others without judgment. Try to genuinely see the world through their eyes and respond in ways that show you understand their emotional state. This simple practice of putting yourself in someone else's shoes can have profound effects on the way you relate to others and the way they relate to you. Another powerful sign is the fear of change. This is a pervasive force that holds many people captive within the walls of their comfort zones, even when those zones have become prisons of their own making. This fear manifests as a deep and often irrational aversion to trying new things, exploring new ideas, or stepping outside of familiar routines, even when those routines have clearly outlived their effectiveness. It is often fueled by a profound sense of insecurity or the ingrained belief that any change is inherently dangerous or destabilizing. This fear whispers lies, convincing individuals that sticking to the known predictable status quo is always safer than venturing into the unknown. As a result, they miss out on the immense potential for growth, discovery, and joy that comes only with change. The irony is that the one reality of life is constant evolution. Nothing remains static. Resisting change is therefore as futile and as exhausting as trying to swim against a powerful ocean current. Eventually, this resistance leads not to safety, but to stagnation, a state where all progress and development become impossible. As the ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus famously said, "The only constant in life is change." This is an immutable law of the universe. Change is inevitable, and the sooner we accept this truth, the sooner we can learn to adapt and thrive within its flow. Those who embrace change are almost always the ones who find success and fulfillment, especially in the face of adversity, as they possess the mental flexibility to evolve with their circumstances. They understand that change is not something to be feared, but rather an opportunity for personal growth and transformation. Modern Stoicism teaches us to view change through a lens of opportunity rather than as a threat. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius believed that the key to a flourishing life is not found in avoiding difficulty or discomfort, but in learning how to adapt to them gracefully. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius wrote, perfectly reflecting the Stoic belief that obstacles and changes are not roadblocks, but stepping stones to personal development. In modern life, we are constantly faced with changes, from shifts in our careers and technologies to changes in our personal relationships and even our own health. A fear of change, however, keeps us stuck in unhealthy patterns, often causing us to cling to jobs, relationships, or situations that no longer serve us. The key to thriving in such an environment is to cultivate a mindset of adaptability, learning to embrace change as a natural and necessary part of the flow of life. When you find yourself resisting a change, ask yourself, what opportunities might lie just beyond my fear? Could a new career open doors that I've never even considered? Could a change in my perspective lead to stronger, more meaningful relationships? The Stoic philosophy encourages us to view these challenges as chances to refine ourselves, to build resilience, and to strengthen our ability to handle life's inherent unpredictability. Instead of being overwhelmed by the unknown, we can approach it as an exciting opportunity for growth and learning. By embracing change, we become more adaptable, more capable of handling life's challenges with grace, and more open to new possibilities. Fear of change often paralyzes people, but it is important to recognize that resisting it only delays the inevitable. Life is meant to be dynamic, filled with new challenges and opportunities. The individuals who are able to accept and navigate these shifts are the ones who experience true success and fulfillment. As the modern Stoic philosopher Ryan Holiday aptly put it, the obstacle is the way. This powerful statement encapsulates the core Stoic belief that what appears to be an obstacle is often the very thing that helps us grow. The final sign we will explore is the tendency to talk more than listen. This is one of the most common and revealing traits of individuals who struggle with wisdom. It is easy to get caught up in the desire to share your own thoughts, opinions, and experiences. However, when you consistently dominate conversations without allowing others the space to express their perspectives, you miss out on a world of opportunities to learn, to connect, and to grow. Think about it from your own experience. Have you ever been in a conversation where someone talks endlessly, frequently, cutting you off or showing little to no genuine interest in what you have to say? It is incredibly frustrating. You may have even felt unheard, disrespected, and invisible. That is because when someone talks more than they listen, they are implicitly communicating that they do not recognize the value in the viewpoints of others. These individuals often fail to build strong relationships or find common ground because they simply do not take the time to truly understand the feelings, thoughts, and experiences of those around them. This behavior inevitably causes misunderstandings, strains relationships, and creates unnecessary tension and conflict. Now let's shift gears and consider the profound value of listening. Listening is so much more than the passive act of hearing words. It is the active and generous act of giving others the space to express themselves fully, and of truly taking in what they have to say without the filter of our own ego. When we listen actively, we show respect for others, and that respect builds trust and deepens our connections immeasurably. Imagine how much stronger your relationships could be if you simply took the time to really listen to the people in your life. Listening fosters collaboration, enhances problem solving, and is the very foundation of empathy qualities that are absolutely essential for success in both our personal and professional lives. Talking without listening only pushes people away and severely limits your ability to grow. The old saying, "We were given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason," is a timeless reminder that we should listen at least twice as much as we speak. This principle is deeply rooted in Stoicism, where wisdom is not measured by the quantity or cleverness of the words you say, but by your ability to understand, learn, and grow from what others have to offer. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the value of listening and understanding, and he emphasized how true wisdom comes from carefully considering the views of others. The Stoic secrets reveal that when you listen, you open yourself up to new perspectives, and you avoid the dangerous trap of being stuck in your own limited viewpoint. The wisest people are not those who talk the most. They are the ones who seek to understand others most deeply. Consider the story of Anna, a manager at a growing company. She was known for her exceptional ability to lead, not because she had all the answers, but because she was an exceptional listener. During meetings, while others were quick to jump in and share their own ideas, Anna always took a moment to listen first. She valued everyone's input and made sure that every voice from the most senior executive to the newest intern was heard and considered. Over time, her team grew more cohesive, more creative, and more innovative because they felt valued and understood. Anna didn't just talk. She listened, she learned, and she fostered an environment where collaboration and growth could flourish. So how often do you find yourself talking more than you listen? Are there moments when you interrupt others or overlook their feelings and thoughts? It is easy to slip into the habit of dominating conversations, but practicing the art of listening can make all the difference. The next time you are in a conversation, take a conscious step back. Ask yourself, am I truly listening to this person, or am I just waiting for my turn to speak? By being more mindful of this, you will not only dramatically improve your relationships, but also tap into the vast wisdom that comes from embracing different perspectives. Remember, listening is not a passive activity. It is an active choice to engage with the world and the people around you in a deeper, more meaningful way. If you want to unlock the Stoic secrets of wisdom, start by listening more and speaking less. In doing so, you will foster stronger connections and set yourself on a path of limitless personal growth.